Welcome to Oulton Park, where the Britcar Endurance Championship features some top-class racing drivers, all competing in a fantastic array of GT, sport prototypes and touring cars. We're here for race 8 of the season. Round 7 was also from this famous Cheshire circuit, and it turned out to be pretty lively indeed, as Chris Hartley explains.
Good start from Craig Dobby there. To the left in the Riley contact with the Mosler. Mosler then hits the Rapier and off into the barriers. Goes Manuel Cintrano. And Mike Millard caught out in all that. OK, so Craig Dobby with a good start getting the lead of the race. Then it's Callum Lockie, the Class 2 Ferrari. And then it's the next of the Ferraris, Gautam Singanius, and the two FF Corsa teammates, second and third. Darren Nelson overtaken there by Frank Pell and the Audi. And smoke, adds tyre smoke, it's a spin from the Ultimate. It's gone off into the barriers on the restarts. And again, this battle raging on between Callum Lockie and the Ferrari and Frank Pell. Into Old Hawk corner, Guillaume Gruchet right around the outside, an absolutely terrific move. A real shame, the chevron grinds to a halt. Alistair Lindsay has not been in it long, and it will bring the safety car out again. This is for 4th place overall. It's also going to be for Class, and Nigel comes through. And the checkered flag for the first time this season goes to Peter Cook and Frank Pell. They win here at Oulton Park.
Johnny, we were only speaking yesterday and we had a lot of high hopes that you guys have finally managed to get it sorted and race in this championship. Now we're standing here, it's a different story. What's happened?
Yeah, so race 1 didn't go according to plan, so we got up to 4th after the restart, and coming into the second corner, I think it was a bit of a driver error, lost the rear end and went backwards into the barrier, and there's significant damage to the rear, so we got damage to the gearbox and the chassis and the suspension, so it's game over for us today.
Throughout the last race, that car was always back here in the pits, in the garage. What's going on now?
It's all heat issues. The problem is we're trying to develop a car during a race season, which is just an impossible thing to do almost. Everything was going really well. We were quicker than a lot of cars out there. And then on the 3rd lap, just lost all power, and it was just purely the alternator lead. The connection melted, the solder melted. Because of the heat, it should withstand 700 degrees, but it's still melted. So we've replaced the lead, that's on, the exhaust has cracked, but luckily Neil Garner next door has kindly welded the exhaust up for us. So we will be out racing again. It's just one of those weekends, it's just every time you think you've got there, something else to go.
Javier, if you were a cat, I think all of your lives would be over. The luck that you guys seem to have. Your car looks like you're ready to go out.
It does. The car will go out. It's a bit of a miracle. Car's not perfect in any way now. It doesn't handle well. It doesn't look well, but it's going to be the best car in the world. These guys do deserve that we do a good race. I really hope the drivers are halfway good of the team we have.
While Neil Garner Motorsport had managed to get the Mosler back up and running, the other car involved in that race 1 incident would be taking no further part in the meeting. Desperate frustration for Mike Millard and the team, whose misfortune it was to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Despite missing the podium in race 1, the FF Corsa Ferrari pair of David Mason and Callum Lockie managed to extend their lead at the top of the table, while Matteo and Cintrano's DNF dropped them from 2nd to 4th.
It's time to find out who's going to be at the start of the grid and take pole position for race 8. Here's Chris Hartley's qualifying report.
As well as featuring GTs and prototypes from the Britcar Endurance Championship, the second race of the weekend would also feature competitors from the separate Britcar Sports and Touring Car Championship. Posting the 3rd fastest time in the group were Chris Hayes and Andy Thompson in the Westlake Motorsport Seat. 7/10 quicker was Nick Holden, debuting his 2-litre, 245 brake horsepower Ariel Atom in the championship, having started the season in a troubled Toyota GT86. Fastest in class were Mike Moss and Tom Howard aboard the Mike Moss Motorsport BMW M3, with a time of 1 minute 48.412. They were 2.6 seconds quicker than anyone else. The main endurance championship is divided into 3 classes based on power ratios. Ewan Hankey and Sully Jolik were 3rd quickest in Class 3 in the Optimum Motorsport Ginetta. 2 seconds quicker though with the Intersport run BMW V8, driven by Anna Walewska and experienced peddler Kevin Clark. A time of 1 minute 47.9 was good, but not quite good enough to go quickest. By 1/10, that honour belonged to Nick Barrow and Richard Corbett in the Saxon Motorsport BMW. The BAMD Ferrari of Nigel Greensall and Darren Nelson has already scored 2 outright victories this year, but in qualifying they had to settle for 6th on the grid. Just ahead, the first of 2 Ferraris run by FF Corse. 5th place for Adam Carroll and the fast improving Gautam Singhania.
It's just I'm taking a little longer to get used to learning the circuit because it's my first time here. I've never driven here before. So I've actually got maybe half an hour in the car yesterday or 45 minutes in the car yesterday, but most of it was miserable weather. So I'm just trying to go faster and faster.
Following Carroll's late charge onto the podium in race 1, the number 23 Ferrari set a time of 1 minute 39.9, 3rd fastest in Class 2 and 44 thousandths of a second off the time set by their teammates. 2nd in class then and 4th overall were Callum Lockie and David Mason, the current championship leaders. Fresh off the back of their victory in race 1, Peter Cook and Frank Pell continued their good form in the Simpson Motorsport Audi, quickest Class 2 time and qualifying in 3rd place overall. Ahead of them, the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler. Not only had the team worked miracles to get the car fixed, but they put it back together rather well. Incredibly, Mortheo and Thintrano would start from the front row of the grid, having set the 2nd fastest time. But once again, pole belonged to the Riley. The American car, driven by Nigel Mestel and Craig Dolby, was fastest by 2.3 seconds, despite not always sounding particularly healthy during the session. Confirmation of the top 8 times then, with Mestel and Dolby on pole, Mortheo and Thintrano 2nd on the grid, then the Audi of Cook and Pell, followed by 3 Ferraris, the Porsche of Gruchet and the Saxon Motorsport BMW. However, there was a twist in the tale as, come the race, the pole-sitting Riley failed to make an appearance, leaving the Mosler as the sole remaining Class 1 car. Second 90-minute race of the weekend then about to get underway. The Mosler to the right, the Audi to the left. A tight squeeze into Old Hawk Corner, but it's Frank Pell in the Audi that gets the lead of the race. Oh, the spin for Gautam Singhania there as he was going for 3rd place, trying to get past Callum Lockie, who now in the number 26 Ferrari launches one down the inside of Manuel Thintrano and goes into 2nd place. The rest of the field filtering their way down through Cascades for the first time. There, the number 79 Seat, which qualified fastest in group. A replay on board with the pole sitter Thintrano. Look at that move from Frank Pell. Then look at the red and white Ferrari of Singhania trying to squeeze up the inside of the FF Corse car. Runs out of road. There was no contact, but he's into a spin and he drops to the back of the field. And then watch Callum Lockie to the right as he fires one in the inside and goes straight into 2nd place. We're on board with Darren Nelson then as he works his way through his lop chicane, getting onto the tail of Manuel Thintrano in that Class 1 Mosler, which has been rebuilt. They lap the number 66 BMW, which has had a slow start to the race. And this is the battle now for 3rd and 4th positions. On board now with Alistair Lindsay aboard the Chevron, 440 brake horsepower. It's had its reliability issues this season, but it's a car in development, very much being developed during the season, as they didn't really have time to do it over the winter. But when the car goes, it goes very well indeed. And Alistair Lindsay now trying to work his way through the order. The car getting quicker and quicker as the race goes on. So too this man, Frank Pell, the race leader, the Audi. And they're looking, of course, for another victory here at Oulton Park. The drivers live just a few miles away from the circuit, so it's very much home territory. There is a battle with BMWs, and getting out of shape there is the Saxon Motorsport BMW, which is the quickest car in Class 3 in qualifying. And as a result of that, he's going to be passed now by this Ferrari, which is storming back through the field. It's got more horsepower anyway, but Singhania makes his way through the traffic as he goes down to Old Hall Corner. Also in the race here, we've got Chris Valentine, who's been racing in the Britcar Trophy Series in that Porsche Boxster. Lovely looking car, making his way now out to the end of the lap. A very different type of Porsche for Guillaume Gruchet here. This is his first full season of endurance racing, and not been racing full stop that many years, but that is the car and the driver, which lies currently 2nd in the championship after a very consistent season. There's the gap from 1st to 2nd then. The race leader, Frank Pell, is making his way down to Lodge Corner. He's got something like a 3-second advantage over Callum Lockie. They're both in the same class as well. They're both battling for the overall championship title. Back on board with Alistair Lindsay in the Capital Compactors Rudd Chevron, and he's about to make his way past the number 68 Seat, which has been shared this weekend by Rob Taylor and Gary Coulson, the Zest Motorsport car. So getting up to speed now, getting quicker and quicker and working his way through the traffic out of Knickerbrookshire Lane, climbing up Clay Hill. Another Seat in sight there. It's the Chris Hayes, Andy Thompson car. Rising up over Clay Hill now, accelerating, the back end snaps out! Oh, and that's a big hit into the barriers there for Alistair Lindsay. A huge smash at the top of the hill.
Big impact. Big impact.
And that was Alistair there, you could hear on the radio to the team, and the red flags have now come out.
Yeah, I'm a mechanic. Yeah.
Good to hear Alistair talking to the marshals there and saying that he's okay, because that was a huge shunt, and this is the debris, this is the aftermath, and you can see the car has continued for about 120 metres after the point of impact on the barriers.
Went over the brow of the hill and the car actually took off, mate. Literally as it landed, went sideways.
Here's a replay then. So Alistair saying the back end of the car went light, there was no contact, anything like that, but watch the back end here as he goes over the brow, it just goes light, and that sends him straight into the barriers, and he had no chance of catching that. So rather unsurprisingly, the race is going to be halted, the car's stopping on the grid. The air ambulance has been called in, but hopefully this is precautionary, as we heard Alistair saying that he was okay. It gives us the opportunity to take a break.
Welcome back to round 8 of the Britcar Endurance Championship here at Oulton Park in Cheshire. Before the break, there was some great action in the early part of the race. So let's hand back to our commentator, Chris Hartley, for more of the highlights.
Well, after a long delay due to that big accident with Alistair Lindsay, the cars are restarted, ready for the race. It's only going to be a 45-minute race now, and there will be no mandatory pit stop, so that might well affect the strategies in terms of the two driver outfits. At the head of the field, though, it's Frank Pell leading the way from Callum Lockheed. There is Darren Nelson in the 4th place car. Up ahead, the top 3, at the back of the top 3, is the Class 1 Mosler, which is now being driven by Javier Morcillo. The drivers swapped during the break. Into the pits already comes the number 68 Zest Motorsport Seat. Coulson and Taylor sharing the car. So that looks like a problem for the car. On board then with the man in 3rd place, Javier Morcillo. The car dropped behind the two lesser power Class 2 Ferraris on the original start, but now the quicker of the two drivers is in the car. Problem is, he's got a very quick driver ahead. Callum Lockheed, the multiple Britcar champion, hugely experienced and very quick. On board with Darren Nelson, who is in the BAM D Ferrari, which runs just behind them in 4th place. Coming out now up to Clay Hill, which is the point where we had that big crash, which caused the red flags. There's the number 43 BMW, which is driven by Anna Walewska, coming under threat now from that Atom, which is absolutely flying. 145 miles an hour that car should be able to do with Nick Holden on board. There's the race leader, Frank Pell. In 2nd place, it is still Callum Lockheed. In 3rd position, it's Javier Morcillo. And I suspect none of these cars are going to come in and make a pit stop now that they don't have to, just to swap drivers. Otherwise, of course, they risk losing the race because the time it takes to make the stops. Here we go then, the Class 1 Mosler, which has been rebuilt by Neil Garner Motorsport in double quick time after a big crash at the start of the earlier race of the weekend. Coming up to the Ferrari, but he can't find a way through. And here's another Ferrari charging back through the field. This is to go back into 5th place now. And Gautam Singhani, the Indian driver, with a good move there to get past Guillaume Gruchet. So the Porsche is pushed back now to 6th place. Still going well there is Chris Valentine. He hasn't got the horsepower of some of the other cars around him, but he's driving very neatly and tidily and staying out of trouble, and he should pick up a good result here. Back on board with Javier Morcillo then, 4th in the championship, looking to make up for the loss of points in the first race of the weekend here at Oulton Park, onto the tail of a very twitchy Ferrari, which has been driven to the maximum here, and that might be an opportunity to go through. Has he done it? Yes, he has. The Mosler finally makes his way past Callum Lockheed, bravely fended him off there for a number of laps. So up to 2nd place now for Javier Morcillo. And the good news for him is that the race leader hasn't got that far away from them in all the time he's been held up. So he rises up Clay Hill now, heading towards Druids, makes his way through the slower traffic. And just look how he drives this car very smoothly, but right on the edge of adhesion. The Spaniard now has got to try and close the gap to this man, Frank Pell. Peter Cook likely, he's not going to get a chance to drive that race-leading car. And they just want to get another win here. They are real championship contenders despite missing the first round of the season. on board with Tom Howard, then in the Mike Moss Motorsport BMW, which is going very, very nicely. They lead the sports and touring car division and are about to move into the top 6 overall by the looks of things. Good move here from Tom Howard, who gets at the inside going into the final turn at Lodge and makes a move past the Frenchman Guillaume Gruchet, is now pushed back to 7th place. Great to see Moss and Howard going well. They've had some bad results. Now there's a big crash between two Class 3 contenders there. It looks like Sally Ulick and Anna Walewska, the number 38 and 43 cars, the Ginetta and the BMW, have come to grief up at Druids. That only leaves one in the class now, which is the Saxon Motorsport BMW. As we look at the top 2, the gap having come down quite considerably. Frank Pell would love to win the race outright, but he knows that he's not up against that Mosler in terms of class points. The safety car is now being deployed, not for the crash that we saw at Druids, but so that Alistair Lindsay can be taken for a checkup at the hospital. The good news coming through is that all looks like it's going to be okay with Alistair after that big shunt in the Chevron. So it's going to bunch the field back up again, the safety car. Not such good news for Frank Pell. Okay, safety car about to make its way off the circuit. The race about to restarted. You're on board with the race leader, Frank Pell, in the Simpson Motorsport Audi. Breathing down his neck, though, is Javier Morcillo, trying to go around the outside at Old Hall Corner. He's not patient, he's not going to wait for the opportunity. He's trying to get through very quickly, but Frank holds him off. So the Audi stays first. Great battle in this between two cars in very different classes, but Oulton Park isn't necessarily a power circuit, so the Class 2 cars do have a better chance of keeping these bigger, beefier machines behind. Certainly more chance than they would somewhere like Silverstone. So making their way out into Shell Oil's corner they go. On board with Emin Sadig and the number 66 Land of Flames at BMW, which is being lapped by a couple of quicker cars, including the number 31 Ferrari of Darren Nelson, which has now got Gautam Sangania right on his tail, and those two battling away for fourth position. First and second then make their way through. We've still got Callum Lockie in the Ferrari, the FF Course Ferrari, running in 3rd place. Huge amounts of traffic ahead for Guillaume Gruchet. That Atom is very quick working its way through the traffic. It's a lap down on Guillaume. They both go past the number 66 BMW, which we had the onboard shots from, and they make their way down towards the chicane. So lots of action in the midfield there. Back on board with Javier Morcillo in this battle for the race lead, and Morcillo, make no bones about it, needs maximum points here, needs to win the race. They've won a race at every single event so far this season. Trouble is, they haven't always been consistent. They've had one or two issues, but here is an opportunity, and through he goes on the exit to Old Hall Corner. And after a brave effort for many, many laps, Frank Pell finally has to relent, and the Class 1 Mosler comes through to take the overall lead. Here's the Mike Moss Motorsport BMW, number 57, leading Class 4, leading the sports and touring car category, and in a fabulous 6th place overall. Because this shortened race, because there won't be a mandatory pit stop, Tom Howard is going to stay in the car. Let's hear now from his teammate.
We've obviously decided to keep Tom in the car, mainly so we can bring the win home, because we've had some very bad luck at the start of the season. So it's important to us that we get some championship points this weekend.
How gutting then is it for you that you've not had a chance to get in the car?
Very annoying, because I was right on Tom's pace this weekend, and I was actually hoping to maybe just sneak a win on Tom as well. So yeah, disappointed, but like I say, important to bring the points home this weekend.
The Saxon Motorsport BMW leads Class 3. Nick Barrow in the car, and Rachel has caught up with his teammate.
Well, unfortunately, both our competitors have gone out. We were all three racing together, having a really good race. And I managed to get in front of them, and I'm not sure what happened. But sadly, we're out there just racing the next car in front now.
Still very close at the head of the field. The Mosler leads, the Audi in 2nd place, and there is the FF Course Ferrari, the championship leading car being driven at the moment by Callum Lockie.
So we've got Callum out in the car, but now we've been told there's going to be no mandatory pit stop. So does that mean you're not getting back in?
No, I'm not getting back in because, of course, there's no need to refuel. We have enough fuel in the car, no mandatory pit stop, and I'm just going to let Callum go for it and have a really good fight with the Audi, because I think with any luck he can pip it.
On board with Guillaume Gruchet, who's regularly in the top 6 in the championship, but he is struggling a bit today. He's dropped down to 8th place now, behind the number 47 BMW of James McIntyre. You're a multiple race winner in the Britcar Trophy, the shorter Britcar races this season. Out of the picture, just saw the number 66 BMW. Guillaume Gruchet trying to get the place back, though, as they make their way down through Cascades and accelerating out now towards Island Bend. But the BMW pulling away from the Porsche. Great battle going on for class position here for third in class as well between the 78 Zest Motorsport Seat and the 79 Westlake car. Nose to tail as they make their way out of Old Hawk Corner. The number 38 Ginetta has gone back out. It's just being lapped by the two Ferraris. A lock up. Oh, it's the Ginetta off. So Ginetta there locking up going down into the chicane. And just as the two Ferraris are having that battle for fourth place, but it'll get going again. There is the number 45 Saxon Motorsport BMW, Nick Barrow. A very nicely prepared car, very quick car, which seems to have its reliability issues sorted out. There is the Atom, Nick Holden. Nice to see him getting towards the latter stages of a race after his troubles at the start of the season. There's James McIntyre doing a very good job in 7th place overall in his endurance debut. There is the car, which runs in 6th place. Tom Howard doing a great job there for Mike Moss Motorsport, about to take maximum points in the sports and touring car division, of course. And there is the 4th place Ferrari, Darren Nelson, fending off for lap after lap these attacks from Gutam Singania. The gap has closed, but it's never really got himself into a position to attack. So Darren Nelson, in only his 2nd season of racing, doing a very good job there. Almost home and dry, though, is Javier Morcillo in the Nilgana Motorsport Mosler, lapping Guillaume Gruchet in the 8th place Porsche. Still on for a Class 2 victory is Frank Pell in the Audi, but it's going to be 2nd place overall because the checkered flag is readied. And the race win goes to Javier Morcillo and Manuel Cintrano. What a turnaround after a difficult start to the weekend. Let's have a look at the results then. It's a win by nearly 5 seconds for the Mosler, the Audi of Cook and Pell in 2nd, and completing the podium, Mason and Lockie. Moss and Howard win Class 4.
Just to have the car running was fantastic, and then I saw the chance of actually winning the race. It looked difficult, but I had to try, and we grabbed the chance and see, fairy tale.
Well, it is, and your team really have just come together and worked fantastically. How proud of them are you?
I have no words. This is what motorsport is about. The results we have. It's not about our driving at all. It's about having a fantastic car and a fantastic team behind.
A great weekend for Peter Cook and Frank Pell, the winners of race 1. They're 2nd in race 2.
We actually ended up, battling with the Mosler at the end, which I've made myself very, very wide. It was a big Audi, but yeah, it was very fair. So yeah, it deserved to pass. So yeah, it was good, really good race.
And after a really tough season, it's great to see the Mike Moss Motorsport BMW winning Class 4, the Sports and Touring Car Trophy.
We've had so much bad luck this season. It's been absolutely unbelievable, especially with Spa with the throttle getting stuck open. But the team, like I said, last meeting, they've done such a good job to get the car back together for the meeting, and they've just improved it again this meeting. And it's really, really good to get a podium finally and a win.
So at the halfway stage in the championship, it's Mason and Lockie who lead the way by 15 points in the Britcar Endurance Championship. Morcillo and Cintrano back up to 2nd, Guillaume Gruchet in 3rd. And Frank Pell wins the Sunoco Driver of the Day, and Anders Hildebrand presenting the trophy.
Well, that just about wraps up our coverage from Oulton Park, and what a superb victory for Javier and Manuel. And no doubt they'll be wanting to carry that momentum forward onto the next event at Stetterton in a few weeks. Until then, thanks for watching.